Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified informational privacy professional, providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hello, Justin Daniels here. I am a shareholder at the law firm Baker Donelson, and I am a technology, transaction, and M&A attorney. I am passionate about helping companies solve complex cyber and privacy challenges during the life cycle of their business. I am the cyber quarterback, helping clients design and implement cyber plans, as well as help them manage and recover from data breaches.
And this episode is brought to you by Ding, Red Clover Advisors. We could start a band. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, e-commerce, professional services, and digital media. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there is greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more and to check out our best-selling book, Data Reimagined, Building Trust One Byte at a Time, visit redcloveradvisors.com. You were very smirky today.
I guess it's because you're very purple today.
I like purple. You're very blue.
Indeed.
Yes. Today's going to be fun.
It will be.
We have a very fun special guest. You have to be in your best behavior.
I know, because I'm sitting next to one boss, and we're about to interview the big boss at Baker Donelson. So our guest today is Tim Lupinacci, who is the CEO of Baker Donelson for the last 4 years. And as a self-possessed leadership junkie, Tim's journey to stepping up as a leader began 30 years ago as a young lawyer after disappointing a boss with an epic failure. The boss challenged Tim after significant yelling and tough love by saying he saw Tim as a strong young leader who needed to recognize that he was a leader and step up to his own work, his career, and his ambitions. In the 3 decades since, Tim has studied, read, and grown his leadership skills through hard work, being curious, trying novel ideas, failing, learning from the failures, and getting better every day.
Well, Tim, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Well, Jody and Justin, thank you so much for doing this. I've been really looking forward to this, and I'll put a plug in. I really love your book. So great job on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, as Justin just shared, you've been CEO of Baker Donelson for the last 4 years. But before that, you've been practicing law for a number of decades. So we would love to hear more about your career from that. It sounds like very interesting experience with a boss all the way to the leadership that you have today.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jody. I'll do a quick overview. So it was interesting because I was a mass comm major in undergrad. Thought I wanted to go into radio and television. Then I realized, well, maybe that's not quite as glamorous as I thought. And I had a media law course that I took, and the law thing seemed interesting. So I took the LSAT and just started. I really stumbled into law school because I really didn't know what I wanted to do and didn't have any lawyers in the family. So when I came out and was practicing early on, it was very transactional. I got a project, I did it, I turned it in, hope I wouldn't lose my job, and then just kept doing it because I didn't have a real context for it. And I was working on a big project, as Justin read, with another 5 or 6 year lawyer, and we were doing it for our boss, a very gruff man. And I did my part, gave it to the senior lawyer and the senior associate. He gave it up, and then we got called into the boss's office. He was on the phone call with about a dozen other lawyers from around the country, and he starts yelling at us, saying that these idiots have it wrong. They're going to stay here all night to get it fixed. And it was a lot of financial data type information. It was in a bankruptcy case, which was what my practice has been. And so we stayed all night, got it done. And I had drawn the short straw to drive him, my boss, to court the next morning. It was about an 1.5-hour drive, very awkward, very silent. And then he apologized for yelling at us in front of other people, which was I thought that was a step up for him. But then he made those comments that Justin read. He said, I see you as a leader. You can really do this. And that really was the first time somebody I remember speaking into me as a leader. And I thought, well, if I'm a leader, what does that mean? How do I get better at this? And so that's what led to a lot of the journey that Justin read about. And it really just started with getting better about myself. That was the first place I started. Then over time, I grew in my practice, and I had an associate and a paralegal. So now it's a couple people I'm leading, and I'm learning and trying to help them get better at leading and leadership. And then I guess, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, I was given the opportunity to lead the office at Baker Donelson here in Birmingham. Enjoyed that, and did some other opportunities leading a department. And then when the opening arose for CEO, or my predecessor had been in the role 20 years, I thought long and hard about it, because I love practicing law. I love my clients. I love fixing things, which is a lot of what bankruptcy is all about, corporate bankruptcy. But I decided I would put my name in the hat, and I've really loved it. It's been challenging. It's been stressful. And all the way along the way, I've got to keep growing and keep elevating my skills even today, right? Like, I get better every day. So it's a little bit of a journey of how I got to where I am.
Well, fun fact is I didn't end up doing the media comm major, but that's what I always wanted to do my whole life, until I went to college and then said, I don't know if I want to go that narrow. So I wasn't sure about that. It was really interesting to hear your path. My little ears perked up at that original piece, and that we always have to keep learning. We believe in that. We always say we are trying to raise our kids to be lifelong learners.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in fields that didn't exist when we went to school.
Right. Well, and there may or may not be video of me anchoring the campus news at a little small liberal arts school I went to, 35 years ago. And I made the right choice, not pursuing that career, but
it's okay.
Well, Tim, with deepfake, we can make that happen.
Well, that's right. Although there may, anyway, there may be like just those old, what are those reel-to-reel type tapes? That's what I think we were doing on.
Anyway, so Tim, the legal profession, as you and I both know, is going through some real profound change due to technology. So how do you think about leadership and strategic planning when we're in such a fluid environment in this particular industry?
Yeah, it's a great question, Justin, and it is something that keeps a lot of us up at night, because it's constantly evolving. The speed of change is pretty remarkable when you look back, even to, 4 or 5 pre-pandemic, right? I mean, even since that point, when I was in, I had a 6-month transition into the role of CEO, and during that time, a great piece of advice I got was that the best law firms that are really being the most successful in that point in time, 2018, 2019, are really the ones that think like a best run business, like our clients do. And so that's really been a mindset shift that has really guided me, because I think a lot of times law firms, maybe professional services firms generally, had not historically thought like that. It was more of the partnership, I don't want to say congeniality, because I do think there's a way that you best run business with culture. I'm a firm believer they come together. But going back to your question, I think how I manage and lead with the rapid change is I want experts. The best run businesses have experts in various areas of running the operation, with a seat at the table and a voice at the table that they're listened to. May not mean that that there isn't pushback. There's accountability there, but I want the best folks leading our firm. It's not me. I don't know everything. I know very little pieces. There's things that I have some strengths in. There's others I don't. So I've got to have the best and the brightest all around the table to help lead as an organization, including IT and security and privacy, because that's something that I certainly am not an expert in. And the change, as you said, y'all's careers didn't exist when you were in college, and it's changing anew every day. So anyway, that's kind of how I think about it, that I want to keep learning, but I also want the experts to help me help guide us.
It's like your situations, Justin, where you bring in different experts to help on different parts of, a data breach exercise. There's different forensic experts we might bring in, and others to be able to complement what you're working on.
Well, as I like to say, I'm the conductor of the symphony sometimes, and everybody has their role to play.
But that was my analogy that you stole.
But you're the quarterback. You're the quarterback, Justin, and it's the same thing. I mean, you've got to tell all the players where they're going, right? I mean, they may or may not listen to you. Hopefully, they do, and then you're going to succeed. No, it's the same thing. I mean, I like the conductor of the orchestra, because everything we try to accomplish, everything we try to achieve is only when the whole orchestra is performing in their highest function, and it has very little to do with me other than just getting them ready and let's go do this, right? So.
Well, as the CEO of Baker Donelson, which is a major law firm, strategic planning also means managing organizational risk. And so, on that note, how does the firm prioritize and manage cybersecurity risk?
Right. Well, and it does tie into what I mentioned about that is certainly an area that I would view in my weakness category of actual expertise in this area. So it was very critical to me that we had a professional that really could help guide and lead and counsel me, but lead our organization. And we had an opportunity within my transition time where we had a CISO who had left. And so we really wanted to elevate that role and that function to really like I said, have a voice and that would guide us and protect us because of the increasing change. And so we went out and did a national search and landed on our current CISO, who is really amazing. Came out of corporate America, a large company that was headquartered here in Birmingham. And he's really led us through that. But then it's not just the hiring of someone who's great. It's also, like I said, listening to them and having. His name's Tim also, having Tim participate in board meetings. We had a in-person board meeting last week, and he came and did a presentation to make sure that the board fully understood how we're doing, what he's doing, and then what needs he had resource-wise. Was he getting everything he needed support? The team that he has built out, does he need more bandwidth? So that's one thing, is not just being in the role, but coming and presenting at the highest level, so we could all feel confident to be able to sleep at night, because I know Tim and his team are driving forward. Another thing they do is they do annual strategic planning, and they invite me into that. So I participate in the sense of mostly listening, but also seeing if there's opportunities where they may have a need somewhere, and I can help fast track getting something done to help with them. Another thing that they do is they really have proactive ability to just test our colleagues, right, to make sure that we don't fall prey to the latest scam. And so they've got a robust program to do that. And I have violated. I've clicked on some wrong things and gotten sent into training. So it goes all the way up the top to the first person who starts their first day. We can all get better. And so I recently clicked on one, had to do some training. And so we kind of do that. And then the other thing, I think has been really beneficial that Tim brought to the table is, and one of you referenced it a little while ago, is these tabletop exercises. We get our executive team together. Tim and his team has put together a scenario. And he presents it, and then what do you do? And then there's the next step. And we've done it a couple times now. We have another one coming up in a couple weeks, which was very enlightening to me, because a lot of it was, we really don't know what we would do immediately in that instance. Like, when do we have to notify our carrier? How, and all those type of things, that having us who are not the experts walk through a real-time scenario. And of course we have Tim's involved, their general counsel involved, and they knew pieces, but it was just very helpful. So really trying to take it very serious, because we've seen in the legal industry, as I know you all have seen also, and in other industries, if you're not on top of this 24/7, or whatever, it could even be more than 24/7. I've seen law firms, companies even shut down because of attacks and things that they couldn't come out of the cycle. So anyway, rambling a little bit there, but those are a lot of things we're trying to do.
And Tim, I don't want you to feel bad, because in the last 18 months, I also clicked on one of those emails and I also went to the penalty box, and coming from me. So
they're very clever. They're very, very, you really have to look at some minutia level of detail. And sometimes even the best of those who are trained, they continue to evolve all the time.
Particularly when you're in the middle of some M&A deal, you're working on multiple matters, you're really being stretched in a lot of directions. And that's what the phishing emails prey on. And that's why the testing is so helpful. So
yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
So Tim, when you meet with security personnel, like when they come in to present to the C-suite and board meetings, what is critical to you when professionals explain cyber and privacy risk in the overall context of managing a law firm?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, one of the things that Tim does a really good job at is, I call it dumbing it down so that I can really follow, what they're doing and then how it's protecting us. And even when somebody clicks on a bad link, how we've got all these systems in place to send up the alerts and cut it off right away, and really explain it in layman's terms, I guess, is the best way to understand it. And so I think that's helpful. I think the fact that Tim knows also our strategic goals as a firm. I mean, he's right in the midst of that he knows what we're trying to accomplish and he knows where we're trying to go as an organization. And so that helps him really connect up. We want to be, a best run business. We want to be a trusted advisor to all of our clients. Well, in order to do that, we've got to excel in privacy, security. I mean, we've got to lead the charge on that. And so he really connects that up really well. And then it's helpful for me that what Tim does is he compares us to industry average. Now, I know, that can be sometimes people rely on that to say, oh, well, we're not that bad because we're right at the industry average, right? So I think it's not because I want to beat the industry average. I want to be the best below, the best higher or below the industry average, whichever way is good. In that, and so, but that helps me to see areas where we can still continue to improve, right? So I think that's another thing that I do. And as I said, one of those things that he does is he reports to us about those phishing alerts and how many of our colleagues click on it. And we have tracking to see how we're doing it and then compare it to the industry. And that's just helpful for, I think, the board members to see that we've got a handle on that. Tim and his team have a handle on everything, but then yet there's still ways that we can get better, right? And the next thing coming down the pike. So
I want to really highlight that you have elevated this conversation at the board level. Because there are so many organizations who don't appreciate the need to do that and to help all of those members understand the risk and how it is a business risk and to figure out what else it is that you all need to do.
I totally agree. And it's been something that, again, it just fits into what the strategy of what we're doing. And it's about having the professionals who know that, or the experts in the field coming and reporting to the board. And I think that's vital for any board to really do the function of what a board is supposed to be doing, needs to understand that. And particularly with the security, privacy and security area, as you said, it's foundational risk management, proactive risk management, because it can literally sink the ship. You talk about, Jim Collins always talked about, sometimes you take some risks, and as long and you as an organization on driving forward, but you want to shoot, like what does he talk about? You want to shoot bullet hole risks where, like, if you miss, it's a bullet hole. You don't want to shoot cannonball risk where it hits. If you miss wildly, then it sinks the ship. Well, if you're not being serious and having the right CISO in place and reporting to the board and being accountable, holding the board accountable and holding the CISO accountable, you've got the risk that cannonball is going to come and sink your company ship. So it's vital, and it's been invaluable to us.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. It's really, really helpful.
So Tim, as we talked about in the pre-show, we congratulated you that because of who you are a target out on social media and various other places. So I was wondering if you could share a recent experience you had with your LinkedIn account.
I will. Yeah, it's funny talking about being a target. Tim, our CISO, says that our CFO and myself are the most widely spoofed people in the whole firm to all of our colleagues. If I'm not sure I use that term right, but they get text from us, do this immediately, or come. And of course, now most of our colleagues are trained. Like, they reach out, hey, are you really trying to reach me? Anyway. So yeah, I kind of had been kind of just going along. I know this is critical for the organization, but I hadn't really thought about it much in my own personal context. And all of a sudden, my LinkedIn account was hacked, and it was a little bit odd because, as best I could tell, and best we could tell, or people got involved and looked at it, they changed the name. It was still my picture, but it was a woman's name now, and they followed some sites that hadn't followed. But that was about it. And so it took about a week I worked with LinkedIn, where our colleagues worked with LinkedIn. We got it all. They had to make sure who I was and get everything re-authenticated. But it led, number one, for me to say, I got to get more serious about this and factorial authentication on all my stuff, and just to be really cautious about it. And going back to the clicking on the spam email that they send around to try to get us to learn and get better, but they also trick you sometimes. I thought that was a little unfair, because the one I clicked on recently was the LinkedIn thing happened on like a Monday, and on like Wednesday, this email came from Facebook about some kind of spam, thing. And I said, "Oh no, there's more." And I clicked, and it's like, "Ha ha ha! You got to go to training." But I talked to Tim. I mean, I thought it was unfair. It was smart though, right? Because that can really happen. I mean, that's the next. Of course, that could happen. I think it would have been pre-set up, but I still think it was a little.
Someone was playing a joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but I went to the training.
That really could happen, and someone might have gotten to all the accounts. So,
right. Oh,
you could have a very savvy CISO. We might need to give Tim some extra props.
Yes. No. Well, that's true, and it really did, because I immediately went to. At first I was just thinking, well, this is frustrating, right? I mean, I don't do much on LinkedIn, but I was like, this is just frustrating. And then somebody, I think Tim reached out and said, well, you really need to be thinking about all your passwords everywhere, because, so I did. I spent hours now doing all that and doing the, multi-factor authentication, just because I just hadn't thought about it. So it's a good lesson for me.
It is tedious, but it's very worthwhile for sure. So with all of this knowledge that you have, I am sure you're very popular at cocktail parties, backyard barbecues, maybe coming up this weekend. What is the best privacy or security tip that you might offer from a CEO's perspective?
Yeah, no, that's great. I do love people, so I don't know that I don't know if I'm a fun guest, but I do like going to them, because I just like hanging out with people and talking. But so I think it goes back to what the first thing I kind of mentioned a little bit about. I'm not an expert in everything. I mean, some CEOs are expert in privacy data security, and that's great. But that's not one of my strong background areas. And so when it comes to cybersecurity, to Tim as a CEO, I need to make sure I've got somebody in that role who absolutely is top of the game, right? Because I need that expert at the table to guide us, and then I need to give them the authority to let them manage cyber risk with my, I got their back. We got them the resources. And so I think that's the big thing. But, one of the ways, as Justin knows, and Jody, you probably experience this too, lawyers are always the smartest people in the room. And sometimes they don't like to listen to experts that don't have a law degree. And so, and I don't, that doesn't happen at Baker Donelson. In some firms, I hear that happens, but there is that thing. So I wanted to do a visual statement about what I was just saying. I wanted Tim to make sure that he felt supported and I had his back. And so I did. It's kind of a little silly thing, but we had a leaders meeting, and I had the leaders of technology and CISO and marketing business development come up, and I gave them this little baton, like a running baton, and it says I'm passing the baton, and it has my name on it, and I handed it to them in front of all the lawyer leaders so that they could see that, yes, we need to listen to these experts. So the short answer of the cocktail party thing is answer would be just hire the right person who's an expert to lead in that area.
I like that baton idea. That is really, really clever and very cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's even red.
It is even red.
Well, it is red.
Just so happens Baker has some red.
Yes, we do. So, Tim, when you're not busy being a CEO of a major law firm, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, I mean, I certainly do like, just because it's my me time, running in the morning and everything. And I certainly love travel. We've talked about that. But I guess the one thing that I've been working on the last couple of years is writing. I've got a manuscript of a leadership book that's been through 3 edits, and looking at what I do with that. And then and it's called Everybody Leads, but it's also the concept built into a nonprofit that I started called Everybody Leads, which is really bringing basic leadership skills into underserved communities. So I've been partnering with some local nonprofits to kind of test and see, is it a value to folks in their cohort that they're serving, like folks reentering society from prison, or some disadvantaged youth who are now getting some job skill training. And I think it's like coming alongside those organizations to do a little basic leadership skill training to help them once they get a job. So I've become more interested and passionate about that in my free time, which is, far and few between, but I do enjoy working on that.
Well, Tim, we're so grateful that you shared so much with us today. If people would like to learn more, of course, we will send them to bakerdonelson.com. But if there is anything about, for example, the Everybody Leads that you want to send anyone to, or your very well secured LinkedIn now, please feel free to share how people can connect with you and learn more.
No, that's you've really basically hit it. BakerDonelson.com. I'm on there. I'm on LinkedIn, and Everybody Leads with an S.org is a website that we're starting to build out. It's got some content, more to come. We're working on that. So
wonderful. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it.
It was a joy to be here and just learn from you all. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.